All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mrs. Noreen, would you lead us in a flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sunshine Law Statement. All requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been met for this meeting of the Board of Education of the Borough of Oradell. Notice of this meeting was filed with the Record and Town News and all persons requesting such notice. Mr. Darian, would you read the mission statement?
The Oradell Public School District is dedicated to the ongoing pursuit of educational excellence through comprehensive, innovative curriculum and instruction. The district is committed to providing opportunities for social, emotional, and academic discovery to foster curiosity, courage, and character. Our goal is to prepare our students to become lifelong learners who are self-directed, resilient, productive, responsible citizens.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mrs. Acosta, Mrs. Negum,
Here.
Mr. Griffin, Mrs. Noreen,
Here.
Mrs. Shapiro, Mrs. Walker, Mr. Walsh,
Here.
Mr. Darian,
Here.
Mrs. Nichols.
Here. At this time, we'll open to the public for agenda items only. Not seeing any, we'll move forward. So tonight, I just want to acknowledge in my president's report, we have 4 donations coming in on finance, if you saw. One is from ShopRite in the amount of $100. That is going towards the 6th grade, or went towards the 6th grade field day barbecue. So we appreciate that. Another one is from our Girl Scout troop for $100 to the school library. Then we have 2 items here from the Oradell PTA. I'm just going to read the bottom one. One is a 3D printer for $900, iPads $2,000, Glockenspiel instruments $2,900, microphone equipment, I think was used in the play, right? $3,800, iPads again $2,000, Dash and Dot robots $2,990, and library books $1,000. So we really appreciate that. But the PTA has worked hard for a few years now, I believe, right? I'm going to ask Mrs. Koth to come up and tell us about it, because we have a huge donation from our PTA, who we love. It's the best PTA in the state.
Oh, okay. So a few years ago, Kate Booth and I went to the PTA Leadership Conference, and we learned about a fund called a designated fund. And originally, the board that I was president of, unfortunately, voted it down. There were a couple of naysayers on that board that did not approve of the fund. But Kate was able to get this fund approved. And over the course of several years since her presidency, we were able to take surplus funds and some funds raised, I think, from bingo and probably the Wizards, and probably from Wizards, and delineate that money into a designated fund specifically for the auditorium. And over the course of this time, we have raised $50,000 for the auditorium. So I am Anne Marie Antonelli, and I are both here on behalf of the Oradell PTA. Unfortunately, my children will not benefit from the new renovations, but I have several nephews and a niece that will, and hopefully Owen will get to partake in part of it also. But we would like to present this very large check to the Board of Ed on from the PTA.
We're coming to get it. We're going to take some pictures.
They're not saying no. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
I have to take off my robes. Actually, why don't we all come up, and then Rhonda can take a picture. You want to? Yeah, let's go. Come up, small Laura.
You're looking the most handsome. You get it in front. We'll all hide in the back. Here you go. I got it.
Yes, let me have that check. No. Thank you. No, like, we appreciate it. I mean, I know, like, it started a while ago, but we appreciate it so much. You guys do an amazing job in Oradell, amazing,
I sent a text to our board.
amazing.
Six ladies that we worked with this morning, and I told them that the legacy of our PTA, of our board, this money will be part of our legacy for, getting the ball rolling on this fund, even though it was Kate's board that got it approved. But it's just amazing, like when you stop and think about what this PTA does overall, it's such a wonderful organization, and our legacy of things that we have done for this school and for this community, our roots really are really deep. And you like that, right? Using that? They really are deep and entwined in everything within this school and this community. So it's nice to have been a part of it in the past 9 years that I've been at OPS. And
Yeah.
it's one of the things that I really will miss now that I have graduated out of.
I'm sure you could still volunteer.
I'm sure I'll still get the text messages asking, hey, what do you think about this?
Absolutely. You want to say anything, Mr. Darian?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the PTA. I know it was several years ago we met, and it was very hard for us to get the air conditioning in the auditorium. I mean, that was a big milestone. And, the thought of remodeling the whole thing was a big goal. And, we lobbied here real hard to put money aside. And, you initially had mentioned you were going to give a sizable amount. It wasn't as much as this. And that really got the ball rolling. We thought, oh, we could hire a professional designer. Oh, we could, we can go first class. We can spend some money. And so here we are today. $50,000 is a huge amount. I'd like to thank you for that. And, in a couple of months, we'll be hopefully, sitting
Cutting
back
the
in the
ribbon.
auditorium.
Cutting the ribbon.
Yes.
Anybody
Thank
else
you.
want to say anything to our PTA? You have to be like one of the best in the state. You have to. Have to. We're definitely the largest. Yeah. Really?
Yes, we are. The Oradell PTA is the oldest in the state.
How old? About.
That I don't know off the top of my head, but it's definitely,
No, I don't.
it's definitely the oldest.
94 years.
Is it?
It's probably, it has to be, it's close to.
I'm sure the parents in the district don't realize how much you do compared to other districts. They just think this is the same everywhere. They think, oh, PTA does this everywhere. They could donate all this, and I don't think they understand like what actually happens with our PTA here.
No, and when Kate and I went to that convention, people were like, you do all of that? People were shocked to hear all the things that
Right.
we do.
Yeah.
People outside of Oradell don't
Yeah.
grasp.
It's taken for granted, definitely. We know what you guys do, but I just don't think
And
maybe the
one
whole
of the
community
things
does.
too is, they mentioned the Wizards. That's something that they worked with our local Rotary, with Oradell Emerson, because I was president of the Oradell Emerson Rotary Club at that point, and we raised money, which then we made a donation to the school out of that. So there's a lot that came out of that particular PTA. It's done
Yeah.
a lot for the school.
Want to say anything?
I just want to say a very big thank you. And, I know I've also been a part of the PTA programs and very, very happy to volunteer and head some of the committees and be backed by the amazing board. And there's definitely a lot of effort that's put into each and every event. So thank you again.
I think what sometimes goes unnoticed about the PTA is we are the largest PTA, meaning that we have the most active participants. We have most people that pay dues, but our PTA is still run by a very small group of people. So while you may be leaving our community, your job still is to go tell everybody to get involved, because we won't be able to continue forward if more people don't step up like the two of you have stepped up. Jen and Marie haven't just stepped up in terms of their PTA, they've stepped up in terms of anything the school has ever needed. So when we did White Ribbon Day, Doves for Peace, Many people don't know that I called them at noon and said, "What are you doing?" And they came here and made 1,000 white ribbons for kids to wear. They have forgotten all about it, but there were glue burns all over their fingers by the end of the day, and that really is what makes this community great. And I hope that future parents, you know, model themselves after both of you.
Mr. Marmora, I know you're thankful.
From a budget side, yes, I would like to say thank you. I'm very impressed with the donation. It will definitely go to good use. This week, actually, we'll be starting breaking ground on the auditorium, so we're on our way.
Mr. Marmora is sweating about spending this money, but it's going to be okay. We need it. So, yeah, we appreciate both of you and the PTA very much. You don't have to stay for the rest of our meeting, don't worry. We're not going to be insulted, don't worry. All right. With that said, the only other thing I want to remind everyone is we have the July 4th parade Monday. So we have to get the banner. Oh, you want to get the banner tonight? Mr. Darian?
Yeah.
Are we getting the truck?
We are.
All right.
We'll have a flag, just like last time.
When are you getting the truck?
I don't know, the school district doesn't like me having the truck very long, so.
When can we have the
probably gonna
truck?
Pick it up the night before.
Sunday night for Monday morning.
How's he going to get it?
I'll leave the keys. I'll meet whoever's going to drive it, and I'll meet them with the keys.
You could just give him the keys. He won't take the truck.
Okay, we could do that too.
We need to decorate it. We need it before Sunday night.
Oh, okay. We'll make it work.
Is everyone here marching or is going to be around? Mr. Walsh, you going to be around?
Yes.
You going to be here, Catherine? You going to be here?
I am tentative at this point. I'm going to try to make it.
All right. So let's see. It's always a good time. It's
Yep.
always a good time. Okay, superintendent's report.
The last week has been a bit of a whirlwind around Oradell Public School. I think the return to normalcy really hit its peak over the last week. I think we've seen more ice cream trucks, Kona ice trucks, class parties outside than I've ever seen in my entire life at one time. But the most exciting thing that really occurred last week was commencement. So for those of you that came and supported our sixth graders, thank you for making that effort. It was so nice to have a traditional Oradell Public School commencement again. The one thing we added this year, because the most important thing for us is to figure out what were the pieces of our COVID life that actually we don't want to throw away. So we did stream our commencement, which actually allowed all of our teachers to watch commencement. Normally you would have seen them peering out the windows, but classrooms watched it. And one of the pieces I loved is a parent of a second grader stopped me in the hallway today to tell me she watched it and that she was tearing up during it. She goes, and I don't even know those people, but to think that that's my school and that's our community. And a first grade teacher told me that for first graders, it was so exciting because they knew the sixth graders because they were their safety patrols. So there were people going, I know him. Oh, I know that one. They live next door to me. So commencement truly was a whole community event this year. And then immediately the next day we went to Step Up Day, which Step Up Day sounds like this very simple little process, but it is like a Rockettes production. So you can't move your fifth graders into sixth grade till your sixth graders move their classrooms, but you can't move your fourth graders into fifth grade until the fifth graders become sixth graders. So there are walkie-talkies all over this building telling you when things are cleared. And the best part for me as superintendent was that I actually got to welcome all our families that are new to our community, because we do invite them to join us for Step Up Day because it helps with the anxiety of starting a new school year. So we welcomed about 20 new students that were able to join us, ranging in age from first grade to sixth graders. So you can imagine for a sixth grader, they got to actually meet this year's sixth graders. They were the tour guides. They walked students to classrooms. They answered questions from both parents and students about what is Oradell Public School all about. And I was so proud of those sixth graders and how well they did and how well they immediately knew to bend down next to a little kid, because they were a little bit nervous. And those are the fingerprints of our teaching here that I am always most proud of. And then all of a sudden you'd think we'd get to take a big breath, and then today 300 children entered our building. So that between kinder camp, where we have 5 classes of kinder camp between extended school year for our special education students explorations program. We are also paying for several students to attend explorations with federal grant money because we've identified those students as someone who would benefit from extra instruction this summer. And then the Oradell recreation program is also here. So this building was hopping. There were children everywhere, but there was definitely a lot of life. And that is, again, part of just returning to what we used to do all the time. And we just forgot all about those parts. So I am excited for this summer. I'm excited for our auditorium when we add a little more energy to the building as they start work on Wednesday. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Marmora.
Just wanted to mention that for future meetings, the next meeting is going to be our board retreat, which will be at the Riverdale Middle School. It'll start at 5:30.
5:30.
5:30 start time on July 14th. And then after that, our July 27th and August 17th meetings are scheduled to be here in the library while the auditorium is under construction. Thank you.
Moving on to minutes, we have review of June 8th. Any questions or comments, please email Mr. Marmora. Now we have approval of May 25th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I move.
Catherine moved. You have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Negum?
Yes on June 8th, abstain on May 25th.
We're only voting on May 25th.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Abstain on May 25th.
Mrs. Norian?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Darian?
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols?
Abstain. Does it pass with 4? Do we need a quorum or a majority?
We have three out of 5.
Do we need a quorum or a majority for minutes?
Majority.
Do we need a quorum or a majority for minutes?
I believe.
I think it's a
we only
majority.
need A majority.
All right, so just look that up
Okay.
tomorrow to make sure. Committee reports, Mr. Darian, would you take administrative?
Sure. I'd like to introduce items A1 and A2.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Mrs. Negum?
I have a question on the intern position. It's titled intern, but it's not exactly a temporary position, right? It's like, is it a temporary position? How does the
It's
length work?
intern, not interim.
No, intern, yes.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Right now, it's only for the summer, so it would be
Okay, it is.
considered an intern position. It's
okay.
akin to kind of our custodian, summer custodian workers.
Got it. Okay.
Any other questions? Call the question.
I have a question.
Mr. Walsh?
Can we find another form to write out these HIB reports? Instead of victim number 1, there's got to be another way to do it. I have to write on a piece of paper, victim number 1, and then get to all the others. There's got to be a better way. I mean, I don't know.
I can ask,
Did school boards tell us this is the way it's got to be written?
legally, yes, but I can ask Mr. Merlino if there's ever a executive summary that he's seen that's written up in a different way, that's more clear. But we can't use names, we can't use initials, and that's why we have to say alleged perpetrator, because we don't know, and alleged, victim.
Yeah, but the his and her, she and he, it drives me crazy.
It is annoying.
I can't follow it either.
I'll email a sample of one of ours to Jeff, and let's see if he has a suggestion. My guess is he's just going to say to write less, which.
Nothing ever comes of it. Have we ever had a thing that was fully an HIB
Yes,
infraction?
1 a year.
1 year?
1 a year. We usually do 5, and our average is 5 investigations a year, and 1 is founded each year.
Okay, I can remember a couple that we had that, but I think the form
Okay.
needs work. As far as, I'm getting old, but
It's
I'm
confusing.
getting a headache going from victim 1 to perpetrator. I don't know. Just a comment.
All right. Any other questions? Call the question.
Mrs. Negum,
Yes.
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes. Buildings and grounds, Mr. Darian?
Yes. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago on Monday, June 13th. The minutes are in your packet. Just to summarize, it was primarily an update on the auditorium and the timeline and the contractor and all the things that we were going to do regarding the auditorium. We also talked about summer projects and staffing to support some of these summer projects and the cleaning schedule of the building. We talked about HVAC replacements in the board office since they're old and decrepit. And just a review of the camera install or the installation that will be done over the summer. This is just additional cameras. And we reviewed the policy for building usage. So with that, I have nothing else to introduce tonight.
I have a question. The summer cleaning schedule that you showed us from Anthony, what week was that starting?
This week.
So how many summer interns do we have? Do we have the summer custodians starting this week? How many do we have?
We had 3 on site today.
So how many do we have in total?
5.
So we have 5. So we started 3.
3, and then the rest should be starting throughout this week.
Curriculum, Mrs. Norian?
Yes, we have not had a meeting, but I understand from information that we've had in the past that curriculum writing is going on because there's lots to accomplish by September. If you refer back to the information you got in the last packet, you saw the kind of the breakdown. We already approved the visual arts and the world language curriculum, and then we'll be going forward with the rest of the curriculum that has to be in place by September.
I'd spoken to Ms. Bozius about our 5-year cycle, and some of them are older than 5 years, but because there was, so are you still going to make a presentation this summer at some point to the board of where we are in all our curriculum, and if some are older, why they are, and what's happening with them?
Sure, the majority of them were because of COVID. We were given a 1-year extension, but I thought I had included that in an update, but I can do a
Maybe.
presentation on it.
Finance technology, Mr. Darian, you want to take that?
Yes. Yes, it seems like finance takes up the rest of our agenda. We have, I'd like you to introduce items D1 through D25.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions?
I have one question.
Mrs. Negum?
So there was an addendum included in the packet, which had provided a list of the contracts. I think it was item D18, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's the Chapter 47
Yeah.
list.
And oh, sorry, it doesn't look like it's D8. Oh, it's the renewal and or the, I guess the renewal or expiration of contracts. And it wasn't very clear from that list which ones were expiring, basically, if there were any in that list. So it would be nice to see that kind of against that line item
Yeah,
in the
so
addendum.
none of the contracts are expiring. It's
Okay.
just to give notice that in the future, if we decide to go with those vendors, it's not something that needs to go out to bid, or we don't need to get competitive quotes for,
Got it.
without having a formal board resolution to approve it.
Okay, and then do you go with certain assumptions that there is only a minor increase happening with those contracts, or there is no increase happening with the contracts at all?
Yeah, it varies. It will depend if there's increases or not. But obviously, we try to have little to no increase.
Okay, okay.
How do you determine which ones we're going to approve separately and which ones are just going to list? Because most agendas that do the reorgs and whatever do list people. Like, we always list our orders. In the past, we used to list a lot of things, so I understand like not having to do all of them, but like some of the big ones, like we already did Scarillo and then we renewed them. But how do you?
It's just for a catch-all That way, in case it gets lost in the mix, or if it's not in the reorg agenda, I just like to have it to cover all the bases.
So the reorg agenda, though, had some of these, not most of them, I would say, right?
Professional services, really, so
those
like the
always go in.
auditors,
That's what I'm saying. So
the
those will
attorneys.
still go separately
Yeah.
on everything?
Yes.
That's what I mean. They'll still go separately?
Yes.
Even though they're on here, but all the professional contracts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I guess I was asking. Say that again? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because we'll still see them on here, right? We'll still see them on our agenda. Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Walsh?
The D25, the special ed, has the director looked at each individual charge? Is there anything out of the ordinary? Because
No, he actually has an excellent eye for this. He actually noticed that last year, an out-of-district placement was charging us extra for something they should not have been, and we fought it with them, and
yeah, because this, I mean, this is getting like the buses, the charges on the buses. I mean, it's, and the schools that the children go to,
All right, I'll ask.
they can raise the price no matter what. You know, it's not, Chris Christie is not here anymore. And they didn't, even when he was here, they didn't know 2%. But we've talked about having looked at the kids and maybe trying to bring some of them back. He said we did bring one back. Okay, that's a start. We just got to add on to the building, you know what I mean, to build some more classrooms. Probably be cheaper in the long run.
Maybe.
Yeah. For you.
Greg has our total. Is that for the entire year, but there's others?
Which total is that?
What's this total that we're?
Total of D25?
So these are a list of all out-of-district placements that are
out of
anticipated for 22-23 school year. It could
Just-
change
just
during
out
the
of
school year.
district.
and exclusive of transportation costs for those students.
Just let me know when you're going to tell me, because I'll put my fingers in my ears.
He's going to tell you right now. Go ahead.
Are you sitting down? It's basically 1.2 million annually.
Well, the kids are worth it.
Absolutely. Mr. Darian and I have a question on the reserves.
Yeah, Mr. Marmore? The D13, the maintenance reserve account, we're putting 200K in there. Is that going to
It's
be in?
up to.
It's
Why don't
that's
we
a up
it?
to amount because
Oh, you
that
mean
would
our
max
max?
out our maintenance reserve.
So what's in there now?
Right now, there's about $630,000.
And what are we allowed to have in there?
$660,000.
And how much are we
So I
planning
just
to
put-
use? We don't know.
No, we didn't take
Is
any
this
out for the
enough?
budget.
Because I don't want to run
Oh,
into the same
it's-
thing as last
It's the
year.
capital reserve that we had
Is
to
that
watch for,
enough?
so yes.
I mean, because we can just put $1 million for each. It's up to, and it has nothing to do until we run our budgets, and then we just put in 100 or 200, whatever's left.
We won't go over 700,000.
Oh, no, we're talking about maintenance reserve.
Well, that's going to max us out, he said.
Oh, so you're talking about $1 million for capital reserve?
It's just good to put like high numbers, because it never hits them, but at least if something happened, you could do it, but it's good. It's fine. You sure that's good?
Mm-hmm, yes.
Any other questions?
Nope. Let's
Call
vote.
the question?
Mrs. Negum,
Yes.
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes. Delegate report, Mr. Walsh?
I have no report.
Personnel, Mrs. Norian, you want to take that?
I guess I would just like to present item F1.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Walsh. Any questions? Was there an increase in the treasurer's salary?
Yes, $200.
Any other questions? Call the question?
Mrs. Negum,
Yes.
Mrs. Norian,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Darian,
Yes.
Mrs. Nichols.
Yes. Policy, Mrs. Negum?
Nothing to report at this point.
Public relations, anything to report, or task force? All right. Open to the public. Now's your chance to complain. About anything you want.
After carrying all that money around,
Any old or new business? Any need to go for a closed session? We actually do have a
We do,
need.
Yeah.
I move that we go to a closed session.
Second.
I'll second.
So we
Okay.
are going into closed session for personnel and a privacy issue. No decisions will be made afterwards, so you don't have to wait for us to come out, even though I know you want to.
You just miss us so much. You just
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it so much.
Yes.